yards, but keeps losing 47, 42. They're going to go get that guy? Well, it turns out that might be one of the greatest NFL players of all time that they went up and got. And they've now got a 6-year run of nothing but Final Fours, 3 Super Bowls. And, by the way, dude ain't even 30 yet. So we're going to take a look at some of the other situations in the NFL right now and what I predict is going to happen with regard to the quarterback position. Seattle Seahawks, I'm looking at you. So we're going to dive into that coming up in approximately 15 minutes. Blazers back in action tonight. It still feels weird. It feels weird that the Minnesota Timberwolves are leading the Western Conference, right? For a while, it was like, oh, hey, feels like Anthony Edwards really clicked, right? He did that run on Team USA, and Steve Kerr was like, yeah, you're talented. You don't work hard enough. And seemed to whatever happens. And as we've seen in a handful of other teams, there was a power struggle in Minnesota. And the power struggle is now over. Karl Anthony Towns is a good basketball player, but it's not his team. This is Anthony Edwards' team. Rudy Gobert, good basketball player. He's not the alpha. Anthony Edwards is the alpha. And now that the power struggle is over and it feels like the Minnesota Timberwolves and the rest of that team has kind of settled into their roles, what looked like, hey, that's interesting. Minnesota's playing pretty well back in November and December and heck, even January. All-Star game is this weekend. We got All-Star game this weekend. Home stretch is on the way. The Minnesota Timberwolves are still the best team in the West. Second best team in the NBA by record. They're 37-16. By the way, YouTube can see that I keep squinting. I have been very proud of my 2020 vision. And I don't think I'm anywhere near needing to go to an optometrist. But, man, every once in a while, these computer screens. I don't know when I'm going to have to switch to the old people phone with the big font, but it may be potentially on the way. So the Blazers play the Timberwolves tonight. We'll see who's going to be injured in this latest run of injuries that the Blazers just, for whatever reason, cannot shake. Is this, I don't want to say it's on purpose, but 2 years of tanking games has really kind of dirtied and muddied the water in terms of the way that I take a look at Blazer injuries. Am I being unfair? Because we know Damian Lillard last year when he was a member of the Portland Trail Blazers, he wanted to come back. Remember, he was in the run for the scoring title last year. He was in the running for the scoring title, and he wanted to come back, and the Blazers were like, no, Dame, the picks are more important. The position, the ping pong balls are more important. The draft is more important. This is a wash of a season. Your calf, it's over. Now, Dame agreed to it because if Damian Lillard would have went and said, no, I play, I'm going after a scoring title, there's no way they're going to be able to stop him. But I'm going to use a big word here, he acquiesced and sat down. We also know that the year before that, when Nurk and Anthony Simons, both, by the way, in contract years, seemed to get that plantar fasciitis, the left knee soreness. We got a lot of contusions. And, I go back to the 2020/2021 season. Remember, coming off of the bubble, or it might have even been, scratch that, the 2019-2020 season. Coming off of the Western Conference Finals run, and there's a lot of optimism around the Portland Trail Blazers back in 2019 and pre-league shutting down March of 2020. Because remember, a good chunk of the season had already been played. But what is going on with that Blazer team? Injuries upon injuries upon injuries. left and right. And what looked to be some momentum growing and a run in 2019 into the postseason before COVID shut down the world, which makes us kind of forget the way the Blazers are, there was a rash of injuries. And I remember one media member saying, who had a direct line into the GM's office, said, look, the house is on fire. We're just trying to put it out. Like, at this point in the season, we're simply trying to field a competitive team, and that's how Carmelo Anthony comes on the team. Like, Trevor Ariza got brought in on remember the Trevor Ariza years? And then they're going to the bubble, and Trevor Ariza was like, guys, I ain't going to the bubble. I got this thing with custody, and I can't.
He had a thing. That's right.
Yeah. The old custody thing. It's like, so Trevor Ariza's not going to the bubble. But that was where the Blazers were. It was a rash of injuries, and injuries happen. And then tank year. And so when I look at the last two tank years, Brenden, I feel a certain way when, and I'm not saying the Blazers are trying to sell this, but I don't feel an awful lot of sympathy, and I have to always wonder, because of the last 2 years, how accurate are they being on this injury chart? Because the spin for the Blazers would be, hey, young team couldn't get healthy, right? What are you going to do? Young team, we've showed some flashes of brilliance, right? Beat Phoenix. Remember we beat Phoenix? Remember they beat Dame? Beat Dame. Showed flashes, but can't get healthy. Whether it's Scoot's rolled ankle, this seemingly unending illness that has been running through the team, which, again, we've all been sick. It stinks, and I don't even know if it's the real C19er or if it's just flu or we've all been sick. It stinks. It's the worst. But a seemingly run of illness, contusions, and strains, and Blazers can't get healthy. Other than Memphis, I believe they're the most injured team in the NBA in terms of players' time lost. Memphis, obviously, now they traded Steven Adams, but they have 2 starters gone for the year. But the Blazers have been the team that has been like, injuries upon injuries. What are you going to do? Young team with injuries. I have a hard time buying how injured this team is. Now, I'm not calling out players because as we have discussed with not only ourselves, but discussed with prominent guests, because we have prominent guests on this particular program, but with prominent guests, that the problem with load management at the beginning was not the players. And for the most part, the problem with load management, other than with a handful of guys, LeBron, Embiid, even though Embiid actually really got hurt, but he kind of milked that whole load management thing for a while. Other than the 2% of uber stars who can take a night off if they feel like it, the rest of the problem of load management has always been with the teams. The teams are scared. The organizations are worried. The organizations are overly cautious. And I wish I could sit here and be like, yeah, boy, this is really a bummer of a season for your Portland Trail Blazers, sitting at 15-37 with a really, really difficult stretch. Depends on if the Spurs start figuring some things out, the Blazers might finish dead last in the West. They just lost at home to the Pistons, who are dead last in the NBA. Yeah, but Justin, they're hurt. And I wish I could believe it. My problem is for the last 2 years, I've been sold that players are hurt, and wink, nod, they're hurt, right? Because it's better for us with ping pong balls. I don't know if this team is tanking. I don't know if that is ultimately what, is it I've called it a soft tank, but it certainly feels like they are not all that bummed out about all these injuries, and maybe that is my own perception being skewed because of the last 2 years, but it's hard to buy the, hey, young team can't get healthy. You know how it goes. It's like, can they not get healthy? Or a lot of players maybe being held back. And I could be completely off my rocker with this take, but the reason why that perception is out there is because of what happened the last 2 years. All that being said, Minnesota's in town tonight. We're going to watch. We're going to see what happens. Maybe we'll have a magical Scoot night. Who knows? Is Scoot going to play? Who knows? I don't know if Brogdon going to play. Probably not. Good thing didn't trade him. All right. But, there was a lot of discussion yesterday. About Patrick Mahomes. Is he on his way to being the greatest of all time? And this is what we do in this business, right? We rank, we compare. I made the conclusion yesterday. I think with Patrick Mahomes, I think we're dealing with a unicorn. Just like with Tom Brady, we were dealing with a unicorn. Just like with Aaron Rodgers, we're kind of dealing with. There's no comps to the certain special players, but there were certainly comparables when these guys were being drafted. And I saw some things on the internet about certain takes from certain people when Patrick Mahomes was drafted. Buyer beware of what you are about to be sold by these so-called experts. Coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, the Super Bowl has been settled. Patrick Mahomes has now ascended to the table of, is this guy, I mean, he's the best player of his generation. That's pretty undeniable at this particular point. You think about the things that he has done, right? For a long, long time, what was one of the knocks on LeBron James? Yeah, he made it to the finals like all those years in a row. What do you mean, like 9 finals in a row, something like that? I was like, yeah, but he plays in the East. There's nobody challenging him in the East. He plays in the East. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, multiple matchups, toe-to-toe, came out on top. Lamar Jackson, the MVP of the league, went toe-to-toe, came out on top. The 49ers were an absolute wagon. 49ers favored in every single game they played all year long. Mahomes went toe-to-toe, came out on top. First Super Bowl, Tom Brady, the greatest of all time in terms of quarterbacks. Like that, talk about a resume. I'm sure we could nitpick it and be like, oh, well, yeah, he made it to the Super Bowl, but look at this. No. This guy went through Josh Allen twice, went through Lamar Jackson, on the road this year, beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. In terms of generational talent, the only guy to get him is Joe Burrow, and that was kind of a one-shot deal. And we'll see what happens when Burrow comes back. But if you were a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you're like, look, we don't make plans in February. We're Chiefs fans, okay? Just so you all know, for the next 8, 9, 10 years, nobody's getting married in February. At least the early part of February. By the way, my anniversary is coming up this weekend. I was sweating it because I didn't know. When first set a wedding date, the old C19er said, yeah, no, try again. Set a second wedding date. COVID was like, yeah, still hanging around. Try again. Delayed 2 years. Finally, we had what I thought was the perfect wedding date. And then the NFL moved from 16 to 17 games, and I'm like, is Roger Goodell going to put the Super Bowl on my wedding weekend? Like, is this what? Thankfully, didn't. But maybe heading that way. But if you're a Chiefs fan, you do not make plans. You do not make plans in February, or at least the first part of February, because probably going to be watching the Super Bowl and might be heading to a parade sometime. Because they have got their guy. And while there are many ways to get to a Super Bowl and to get to a championship, and we've seen it, whether it is with the 49ers way, which is, hey, we got a quarterback on a $800,000 a year deal who seems to be able to make all these throws. Let's just put all the weapons near him. That's one way to get there. There's the Philadelphia Eagles last year, which is, hey, let's put the best offensive line maybe in the history of offensive line and just pound. That's another way to get there. But you want consistent, sustained, long-term success. You got to get yourself a franchise quarterback. And I have been seeing some videos pop up on the internet, and there were a lot of hot takes about Patrick Mahomes back in April of 2017. That was when he got drafted. Prominent figures who are, by the way, still working in media. Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Chris Carter, Hall of Famer Chris Carter. A lot of guys with a lot of hot takes back in 2017 about how Patrick Mahomes was a reach. Why are the Chiefs trading up? He is undisciplined. His fundamentals are terrible. His footwork is bad, immature. Those are the things that we got the receipts. And these people are still working. Now, I wouldn't say anybody should get fired for an opinion. I give opinions, bad ones, all the time. I'm just saying, beware of what you're buying when it comes to certainty. Because that's one of the skewed things we have in this business, which is there is an opinion, And then there is certainty. I know for sure. And it's like, I always tell Brenden when it comes to certain things, follow the money. Follow the money. And other than the top tier media members, there's nobody who's doing, other than top tier, there's nobody that's doing mock drafts and drafts analysis who's getting paid more than a GM. And if you are so smart and you are so knowledgeable and you understand how the draft works and how this is a terrible pick and this is a great pick, and you can give out all the grades you want, why aren't you working in the front office? Why aren't you a GM? You know all the answers. That's where the money. That's because we don't know all the answers. And every once in a while, the receipts pop back up, and it is a bunch of people with some hot takes talking about how the Chiefs made a reach with Patrick Mahomes. So, why am I bringing that up? Because we're going to hear it for the next 3 months. You're going to hear it. You have one of the most fascinating decisions we've had in a long, long time in the NFL draft. I'm trying to think of, like, when there has been this kind of decision-making around the NFL draft. What am I talking about? Well, you've got a guy in Caleb Williams that almost everybody says is a consensus clear #1 overall franchise changer. This is a guy that turned around Oklahoma's season 2 years ago, being inserted as a true freshman. Massive comeback against Texas in the Red River shootout. I still call it that. But kind of saved Oklahoma's season because Spencer Rattler wasn't getting it done. How crazy is that, by the way? Then as Lincoln Riley exits stage left, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go to USC. Wins a Heisman Trophy. Now, didn't quite have the weapons around him this year. And also everybody else was gunning for him, and the league just got better. But everybody says, and I even say, look, I watched a lot of quarterbacks play in college. There are some throws that I saw Caleb Williams make in person at Austin Stadium this last year that college kids don't make. So now you got a whole slew of opinions on, well, you got to take Caleb Williams, and you've got the Bears with Justin Fields. Are you still waiting on him? You've got the Commanders sitting there in that #2 spot. Do they trade up to get the guy from the D.C. area in Caleb Williams who played for your new offensive coordinator, who has a personal relationship? Like, is that one a done deal? This is going to be fascinating. But the other thing you are going to hear is you're going to hear an awful lot of hot takes about quarterbacks, and you don't know. Beware. Beware of what they are trying to sell you. Because the same talking heads lambasted the Kansas City Chiefs. It's another big word. It's Big Word Tuesday here on the show. Lambasted. The Chiefs, what a terrible... Like, Andy Reid's a retread. He can't win the big game. Patrick Mahomes is a reach of a pick. It's a waste of a first-round pick. You've already got Alex Smith there. Why are you wasting a first-round pick? Boom, 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 dynasty. That's how. Because they had a guy, and they said, that guy is special. Boom. That's a dynasty. So now let's take a look at some of the other teams around the NFL, because I think this is going to be, and most drafts moving forward are going to be quarterback drafts. I think it comes down to 3 quarterbacks. Clearly need a quarterback, love their quarterback, and then there's the murky middle, which I want to talk about right now. There's the murky middle, which is, I kind of like my quarterback. That's a tough spot to be in. The Patriots, the Vikings, the Falcons, the Commanders. Those are the teams, the Broncos, the Raiders. Those are all teams need a quarterback. Got to have one. Like, no two ways about it. They got to go out. They got to get a quarterback. Then there's the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Bengals, Niners. That's about it, I would say. For teams that love our quarterback. Then there's the murky middle. The murky middle is Cleveland. You got a team. You need a quarterback. Joe Flacco got you to the postseason. That's how good your team is. Now, they're not going quarterback shopping because they made the worst quarterback deal maybe of all time by guaranteeing Deshaun Watson $230 million. So he's going to be their quarterback. After that, oh, by the way, the Jaguars, I think they love Trevor Lawrence. Jaguars love Trevor Lawrence, and the Chargers, Herbert's there. They love that guy. But if you're the Dallas Cowboys, how do you feel about Dak? Do you love him? Or you just kind of like Dak? Detroit Lions, Jared Goff. Team clearly good enough to get to the NFC title game. Is your quarterback what's holding you back? Is Baker the guy in Tampa Bay? How long does Matt Stafford have in Los Angeles? Seattle Seahawks. The Geno question, which I think they have until Friday, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they've got until Friday. If they cut, which is why the Steelers cut Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky ain't playing for the Steelers. He was cut yesterday because I believe Friday is the deadline for a certain veteran minimum salary vested. Part of it becomes guaranteed, fully guaranteed. I'm sure I'm butchering that, and if there's some NFL, CBA people that know, tweet at me, at Justin Myers 541. But if you have got somebody at quarterback who you like, don't love, the worst thing you can do is hang around. Because if you want to win, and you want to win at a big level, the Chiefs did it. The Chiefs had Alex Smith. Alex Smith was a good quarterback. Brenden, will you look up, what was the Chiefs' record, Alex Smith's last year? I want to say that they made the wild card. They were a playoff team, and I think they made the wild card. And Alex Smith's last year there with the Chiefs. He was a fine quarterback. Just
10-6, won the AFC West, lost in the wild card to the Titans.
Okay. So the Chiefs had Alex Smith. He won the division. They won the division.
Was that a Mariota-led Titan team?
What year was that? 2017?
I think it was.
Yeah.
That was when they got.
Is that the one playoff win?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't say that negatively, but that year I'm like, oh my gosh, that Mariota's
Wait, no, or was that the year Mariota got hurt when Tannehill took his job?
Let's see.
Either way, the Chiefs had Alex Smith. You're 10-6. You won the division.
Nope, Tannehill's not on the roster. That was a Mariota-led team, Justin, and they made it all the way to the divisional playoff against the Patriots.
Lost to the Patriots next week.
Yep.
But Chiefs went and they drafted a quarterback because they saw in Patrick Mahomes, this guy's special. Made the move. Patriot Dynasty. The Patriot Dynasty was created because Bill Belichick told Drew Bledsoe, who was a quarterback who had been in the Super Bowl, in 1996, maybe somewhere around there. He quarterbacked the Patriots to the Super Bowl. He was their franchise quarterback, just signed a big deal. It was no.
That was when they lost the greatest show on turf, right?
No. I don't believe that was the Patriots. I believe that was the Titans. The Titans lost the greatest show on turf. And then the Patriots ended that next year.
They beat the Rams. Yes, correct.
But they had Drew Bledsoe. He's a fine quarterback. Win you games. And Belichick was like, yeah, Brady's got it. He's got to figure it out. Whatever it is, he's got to figure it out. And the rest is history. So if you're Seattle and you're sitting there with Geno Smith, let's have a hard conversation. Because you even go back to what the Seattle Seahawks did back in 2012. 2012, they had Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn was a fine quarterback. He was a fine quarterback. Look up, I'm not saying he was great. Brendan's giving me the look.
I just said, was he? I remember they signed him to a deal, but
he was a serviceable, okay, game manager, solid starting quarterback in the NFL. And Pete Carroll took one look at Russell Wilson and was like, that guy's special. Take away all your feelings about Russell Wilson and the corniness and everything else. There was a 5-year stretch. That dude was as good as anybody in the league, other than Tom Brady. There just was. We went toe-to-toe with Peyton Manning. Beat him in the Super Bowl. If you've got a quarterback you like, don't love, you best be shopping. You best be shopping because look what the Seahawks did back 11 years ago. Patriots did it. The Steelers. Steelers had a guy named Tommy Maddox back in the early 2000s. Tommy Maddox was a good quarterback. Was the XFL? He was a good backup. He was a backup for the Broncos for a lot of years. Went to the XFL, won the XFL, and then Tommy Maddox gets on with the Steelers, and they're like, "Yeah, Roethlisberger's the guy. That's the future." Tommy Maddox got hurt. Roethlisberger went in. Tommy Maddox never saw the field again. Over the next couple of months, be aware of what you're going to be sold, because there are franchise quarterbacks everywhere. You just got to find them and put them in the right situation. Not saying it's easy. It's actually one of the hardest things to do in all of sports personnel decisions. Finding your guy, finding your quarterback. But if you've got a quarterback that you like but don't love, and if you got Jared Goff, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Geno Smith, you got Justin Fields, if you've got Kenny Pickett, and you get in this cycle of all right, we're going to do some grades, we're going to go to pro days, we're going to go to this combine, and guys, I think that's it. You have to pull the trigger. You got to do it. All right, we're going to shift gears. We're going to talk some hoops next. It is Round Ball Rock. Blazers back in action tonight, and Wemby did something pretty fascinating last night. So we'll dive into that coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Blazers back on the court tonight. They'll be taking on the West-leading Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. We have got pregame coverage right here on Rip City Radio starting at 4:30. So Malcolm Brogdon out for 2 weeks now. Is that the right foot again? So Shaden's going to be reevaluated in, I think, 4 weeks, which I would be surprised. Brogdon's got an elbow. Thank you, Brenden. He gave me the elbow signal. So Brogdon's out 2 weeks, and I opened the show with it, and it's like, I want to be like, hey, simplest explanation is always I don't want to be tinfoil hat guy with the Blazers, but past behavior has made it real easy to be like, all right, what's going on there? Because I don't want to sit here. I really don't. I don't want to sit here and be like, how hurt is Malcolm Brogdon? It's like, at this point in the season, does it really matter? But save me on the, hey, this team just can't get healthy. They just can't get right. Well, okay, maybe that's true. But the last 2 years, you had a bunch of injuries that may or may not have been legitimate to tank to get ping pong balls. And it feels like the last 2 years, it's doesn't pass the sniff test this year. Maybe they're trying to win. Maybe they're trying their hardest. I don't know. But it certainly feels like the tank is being fired up. I don't know how you would fire up a tank, but
You think they make tanks with push buttons? Do you think our fine men and women?
How do you start a tank?
Yeah, I wonder if our fine men and women of the armed forces. Don't think we're in any active conflicts at the moment that require tanks, but
I would tell you
how push button, maybe.
I would tell you to Google how do you start a tank, but I don't know if you want that on your algorithm. I watch a lot of Dateline, and they do a lot of Google search reviews.
They're going to go back. What did Brenden Google search at iHeart? Oh, how to start a tank. Probably
I saw, it wasn't a Dateline, but it might have been a Dateline. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of them, where this guy was like, how to pass a polygraph test. And they're like, well, you see, he's an actor, and he was preparing for a role, the role of somebody who was in an interrogation. And so that's why he Googled, how do you pass a polygraph test? Like,
apparently, Justin, it's legal to own a tank as a private citizen in the United States. I'm assuming that weaponry and whatnot has to be removed.
I would hope so.
But no, in general, it's just a switch. You flip it on, and it goes.
You just turn it on?
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
There's no keys.
See, so, again, we'll come back.
What about the hatch? Do you think the hatch
is locked?
Has a key?
Yes, that has a key, and then you just go in and you press on. I'm like, nice, man. Or at least that's what the brief Google tells me on the internet. Now, they may come after me, Justin. I might not be here tomorrow. The government might get me in handcuffs. And
you might be on some sort of watch list at the end of this segment.
We're going to have to see what your intentions are, Mr. Slaughter.
You just Googled, how do I start a tank that isn't mine? See that you live somewhere near an armory. Watch out. So, sorry about putting you on some list. That's my bad.
No, you good,
we need to know how tanks start.
Good times here on a Tuesday. I love
Turns out it's just a switch. That's all you got to do. You don't even need to turn the key. So, that being said, are the Blazers tanking? Or are they just this injured and this young and this bad?
It could get worse with Brogdon on the shelf. Like, he was helping them play competent basketball, Justin. I don't mean that super negatively, but kind of a little bit.
No, I know what you mean. Like, with him in the lineup, you're like, all right, probably going to compete. Him out of the lineup, it's a tough sell. Now, there are other relevant teams in the NBA, and they had some interesting scores and statistics last night. So let's bring in our good friend John Tesh with Round Ball Rock. All right, news and notes around the NBA. Wembanyama with a triple-double last night, but it was with 10 blocks as the Spurs beat the Raptors 122-99. 27 points, 14 boards, 10 blocks for Victor Wembanyama. It's been an underwhelming rookie season for a guy that I thought a lot of people figured was going to come in and absolutely revolutionize the game of basketball. But every once in a while you see some things like this where you're like, this is like high school stuff. You know what I mean? When you hear of like, oh, it's a triple-double with 10 blocks, like, you think of, like, the tall kid in high school. This is high school stuff. but the Spurs did get the win. If I had to throw a bet your way, Brenden, who finishes with a better record at the end of the year, the Blazers or the Spurs? Who finishes with a better record?
The Spurs.
You think they
I think because I'm just guessing what I think is going to happen. I'm not sure Malcolm Brogdon will play again this year. I'm not sure.
I don't think Shaden's going to play.
Yeah, I don't think Shaden's going to play again this year. Could they let Ant cook? Possibly.
They'll find a way for DeAndre Ayton to not play.
Like, does Pop continue to say, "Hey, Wemby, every other game you're not gonna like"? If they played Wemby every night, Justin, I have no doubt they could catch up 4 games on the Blazers. Now, could the Grizzlies finish below both those teams? Maybe. So that part's kind of interesting. I
hate that the Blazers are this bad.
They are.
It's
they are
just
really
so
bad. They are bad.
It's getting tired.
So is this better or worse or the same? It's like going to an eye test, optometrist, Justin. Even though you don't know, better, worse, the same as the last 2 Blazer teams we've had.
This is worse.
Yeah,
It's worse because you had Damian Lillard on the team, and I hope Scoot is a great player, and I hope he ultimately becomes a franchise player. And I hope Shaden can get consistent and healthy and everything else. I hope DeAndre Ayton can, invest in an alarm clock. Sounds like he's had some tardiness issues. We don't got alarms on your phone now.
See, and that's so funny because that narrative was with Robert Williams. Like, Robert Williams got the nickname from his Boston teammates, Time Lord, because he could never show up to practices on time. So who are we trading for, Justin? Just the scraps? I mean, come on, guys. You're paid millions of dollars. Show up on time.
I have lived my entire life. You probably know this too because you worked in an you worked real jobs, like you know what I mean, where you had to punch in and like.
Oh yeah.
But like my entire life, what we got? Speaking of time, we got 45 seconds. Played sports. You weren't late unless you were number 1 overall pick.
How would your coach feel if you were late, Justin?
Yeah, well, I was never good enough to be the guy that could be late, right? But so my entire life was through sports. You had to be on time. Then I got into radio. Guess what? I don't get to be 10 minutes late to the show.
No.
I don't get to. Like, the show starts at 6. That's when the show starts. So, like, my whole life has been revolved around being on time and obsessed with time. And the people in this sports world that are just like, yeah, I'll get there. It is amazing. All that being said, speaking of Dame, the Bucks got the win. They beat the Nuggets last night, and they've won 2 in a row. Are they figuring it out with Pop? We'll find out. All right, we have got a whole second hour. We got Make or Miss. You will all get off my lawn next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Portland Trail Blazers return to the court tonight. They'll be facing off against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The West-leading Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins at 4:30. Right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Super Bowl was the most-watched TV event in history. 123 million viewers. That's up from 115 million viewers last year's, but I thought Taylor Swift was going to ruin it for everybody. And in selfish Justin news, the Pittsburgh Steelers have cut 3 players, one including Mitch Trubisky. He will no longer take snaps at quarterback for the Steelers heading into next year. Now the Steelers can drive me nuts and go sign Russell Wilson. I don't know. But coming up, here's what I do know. Devon Pouncey is going to join the big show in hour number 3. But hour 2 of Rip City Mornings on a Tuesday starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. And welcome back to Rip City Mornings. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We are pumped to be with you. We are happy. We are ecstatic. Vibes are high here on the big show. We have got Make or Miss coming up in just a bit. We have also got a Get Off My Lawn. Vibes may be high, but that doesn't mean I'm not a little bit grumpy about something. So we got a Get Off My Lawn coming up in a bit. Devon Pouncey, that's why vibes are high, because our good friend Devon Pouncey is going to be joining us in the third hour. I'm going to attempt to make this my final stand on the pop culture invasion that came into the NFL this year. Of course, that was the fact that Travis Kelce was dating the biggest star on the planet in Taylor Swift. And because, and I have said that I believe this is a straw man argument. And what's a straw man argument? Well, somebody says, hey, did you hear this? And then a lot of people come back and be like, oh, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. When this never really existed. It might have existed in small amounts, but it was always a straw man. It was made to be something else to yell at. But I made a decision a while ago, and you may notice it by some of the intro music that we have on this particular program, that I am not going to feel guilty about any of the stuff that I like. There's a whole thing of like guilty pleasure songs, right? What's your guilty pleasure show? What is the song that you listen to in your iPod that maybe you don't tell anybody about? What is the song that you play in your car, but you make sure the window's up? I don't have those. I don't have them. Because I don't feel guilty about anything. And I tell people this, and people don't believe me. But it's a freeing feeling to come out and be like, look, this is what I like. I'm sorry if you're not cool with it. That's fine. This just happens to be what I like. And it's like, hey, Justin, what's your guilty pleasure song? Don't have them. I don't have guilty pleasure songs because I don't feel guilty about it. And I take that thought, and then I take my pineapple on pizza theory. What is that? Well, let me explain to you my pineapple on pizza theory and how I'm going to relate this to Taylor Swift. Oh, boy. You wait for this one because I'm going to land this plane. There's so many hot takes on the internet about pineapple on pizza and how disgusting it is. It is disgusting.
Justin, It is an abomination with our good buddy Chad Doing over this very topic. Like, yeah. He thinks I'm crazy.
But just hear me out on the theory, though. Because pineapple on pizza is disgusting. It is an abomination. It's not even pizza. It should be banned. If you have pineapple on pizza, do you even really? Okay. So let me ask you this. Nearly every pizza place from coast to coast in all 50 states has some sort of pineapple on pizza. If it's so disgusting, if it's so terrible, if it is so grotesque, why does every pizza place offer it? Why? Not saying every, but 90% of pizza places that I go into, and I go to a lot of pizza places, and you look on the menu, guess what? It's there. Why? Because somebody's eating it. If it's so disgusting, if it's so terrible, somebody's eating it. Now, There was a time after the movie Super Size Me. Did you ever watch that movie Super Size Me? Morgan Spurlock.
I did.
And everybody freaked out, and they're like, "I'm never eating McDonald's again." And McDonald's was almost like the adult film store. It's like, did you go to McDonald's? No, I didn't go to McDonald's. Billions and billions of hamburgers sold every single year, somehow, some way.
Is that dude still kicking everything?
I think so. But do you see my point? Which is everybody's. I won't eat McDonald's. How are they still in business? They still keep selling a lot of chicken nuggets. I still keep hearing but right? Oh, never. Pineapple on pizza, disgusting. Oh, really? Why is it? Nickelback is the worst. All right. How many albums Nickelback? Why is Nickelback still tour? Why is Nickelback still touring? It's because clearly, a lot of people like it. And you know what? You probably do too. So how am I going to talk about this with regard to the pop culture invasion that came into our NFL world this year? Well, I don't know if you saw the videos, but they were all over the internet yesterday of the celebration, which I'm not a Vegas guy. Wife loves Vegas, so we go every year. I'm not a Vegas guy. I don't particularly like gambling. I don't like the card games. Now, your boy does like a good day drinking sesh, and they offer that, and for the most part, some sunshine, but I'm not the biggest Vegas guy. Wife loves it, so we go. Brenden, he's a Vegas guy. You still stay up till 3 a.m. at the club with the burn. I don't. I'm
overdue to go back.
I'm an early to bed, early to rise guy. I can still find fun things to do. I can still do my day drinking in the middle of Las Vegas. But that being said, I think you may see more Super Bowls in Vegas moving forward than maybe any other American city. I don't think it's going to be there every year. It's not going to be there every year.
Common.
But it is going to be, and I tell you what, one of the biggest things is going to be because if you are a Super Bowl champion, other than, say, Miami or L.A., and even then, probably not, is there a better post-game celebration town? If you're a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, is there a place you would much rather be? And I saw all the videos of the postseason or the post-game celebration, and I don't know what club it was, but it was a very nice one. And there's Jason Kelsey. And there's Taylor Swift having a good time. And there's Jason Kelsey wearing a lucha libre Hispanic wrestler mask, having the time of his life, enjoying retirement. And there's a DJ. I think it was who's the DJ with the marshmallow head? Brenden?
Marshmallow.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna let you drown over there for a second.
Is that worse than the Patrick?
Oh, a million times, because my mother knows who Marshmallow is, Justin. So yeah, a little bit, but that's okay. We love you. It's okay. He makes really good music.
I don't agree, but that's fine. I think other people.
Can you even say you've listened?
I think other people make good music, and I think he puts it with other stuff.
Oh yeah, see, you can't even say you've listened. He's a producer. He's like a Calvin Harris, right? Just brings people and sings.
I don't know who Calvin Harris is, dude.
Oh God.
What about Skrillex? Is that guy still out there?
Skrillex is solid.
I remember the first time.
Solid. Okay, you're back on the preserver here. Justin is floating on the door at this moment.
I don't think so. Again, because what did I open the segment with? I like what I like, dude. And you like what you like, and that's great. You're into Marshmallow. And who is the other guy?
You say Skrillex?
No, the other guy.
Oh, Calvin Harris?
Yeah, Calvin Harris.
I mean, he did date Taylor Swift, so.
Oh, is that the British dude?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
British dude dated Taylor Swift. Now I know who you're talking about.
Back to Justin Post.
Back to. But I'm sitting there and I'm seeing all these videos, and Brenden, there's Marshmallow, right?
It's really hard to miss him.
Well, I didn't know if I knew he had a marshmallow on his head. I didn't know if he was
very identifiable. For
clearly.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, because then there's the dead mouse. I know dead mouse too, because he's got a head that's a dead mouse with the X's on the eyes. Where's DJ Pauly D at? Where was he at? Is he at the 49er loser party? Probably. Sorry about it.
The 49er loser.
Well, they probably had one. They had
That's funny.
They went to overtime, just like the shirts that are like there's world champion shirts that they have to go to some third world country. There's
man, they think
there was a celebration party planned. Like what happens to that club? Because the 49 they were a stop away. Anyways,
it's a great point.
Back to what I was trying to land. I said I was going to land this plane, and we're circling the airport. But sitting there, and I'm watching these videos. Now, this is anecdotal, but they start playing very clubby remix versions of Taylor songs. Now, I thought Taylor Swift was not football. I thought that was it's not a football crowd. Everybody's singing the songs. Brenden, everybody was singing the songs because you get a couple of vodka Red Bulls in you, or you get a couple of, margaritas on the rocks, or heck, maybe you just start shooting fireball. I don't know, whatever you want to do at your club, celebrating your Super Bowl. All of a sudden, walls come down, preferences come out, just like pineapple on pizza. Oh, if it's so terrible, and it's so bad for the league, and it is an abomination to everything. Like, at the club, hanging out, singing and dancing, everybody knows all the words. How's that? Ruined your NFL. I saw Mad Dog Russo, and by the way, respect to Mad Dog Russo, pioneer in this industry. I don't know if I have this job, if not for Mike and the Mad Dog, pioneers in this industry. Respect where respect is due. But he is an old kook. And he and I have.
You're saying check in with him 20 years ago?
Well, 30 years ago. But to hear they showed Taylor on the screen 58 seconds. 58 seconds of your Super Bowl showed Taylor Swift on the screen. 58 seconds. Well, it wasn't that. It was just the amount of times. It was like, you just cannot stop. And I'm seeing videos at the club of everybody singing every word. Not just beep-bopping along, not doing have you ever done the watermelon cantaloupe? You know the watermelon cantaloupe theory? Which is if you're...
Maybe? Tell me what it is.
Is if you're in a crowd and you don't know the words, but you want to be part of the group, you just mouth watermelon cantaloupe. And it makes you look like you know
that's funny. I've done
and it
that
makes
before.
you look like you know all the words to the songs.
I've done that before. I've never heard it called that, though, but I like it.
And everybody was doing it. They weren't doing watermelon cantaloupe, though. They were singing. So, to all the people who are like, ruined the game. And again, I believe that's a straw man. I do. I believe that's a straw. I believe it's a vocal minority on the X app. I don't feel like it's but it's the same people that yell about pineapple on pizza. It's like, why is it available everywhere? To ruin the NFL, why is the most watched Super Bowl ever? 123 million people watched it. Ketchup is so disgusting on hot dogs, which is not my choice, but there's a ketchup pump there at every hot dog stand. That's so disgusting. Why? Wouldn't sell it if nobody would eat it.
That's the Michael Scott theory, baby.
It's a good theory.
It is.
Nickelback is terrible. They're still touring. So
how do they sell out concerts?
Look at this photograph. I'd rather watch Taylor, but you do you, Nickelback fans. All right, we're gonna do what we do, which is make or miss. Coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up in hour number 3, Devon Pouncey, friend of the program, is going to be joining the big show. Also, coming up in a bit, it is Tuesday. Not in the grumpiest moods right now, but you know what? Things can change. And I'll find something that will irritate me. So get off my lawn. Will be coming up in approximately, 20 or so minutes. But right now, it is that time of day. It's time for Make or Miss. Here we go.
All right, firing up Make or Miss here on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Justin, Wemby is the best rookie since LeBron James.
Nope, not there yet. Sorry, not ready for it yet. Most interesting, sure. Most intriguing, yep. Those are all, I think, apt adjectives. I don't know if we can say best since LeBron James quite yet. Chet Holmgren's a better rookie.
Doesn't count.
Okay. Technically, he is a rookie.
I guess he does, but in my book, in the spirit of this Make or Miss, where I'm in charge, he doesn't count.
All right. Commissioner of Make or Miss, Brenden Slaughter, says first year app. All right, who's in the running here? Who's in the running for this conversation? Because this is Zion. Zion as a rookie was so good they changed the rules of the bubble, right?
They did.
Ja, both of those guys as a rookie.
Luka.
Yeah, Luka was. Luke, that's the answer right there. Wemby's not better than Luka as a rookie.
How about Malcolm Brogdon when he won Rookie of the Year?
Can't get a first rounder to trade that guy. Anyways,
let's just look back at the last few rookies.
But Luka's the answer. Like Luka as a rookie was like must see TV that year in Dallas. And also, Wemby's he's a once-a-month guy, right? Once a month is like, hey, look at what this dude can do. And it's like, that's kind of nuts. And then he goes away for like a month. Last night, triple-double with blocks. Impressive.
Wembanyama's closer to Luka than you might think, Justin. So Luka's first year, he averaged 21 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Wemby right now is 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists.
All right, here's the deal, Brenden. I use stats when it helps me, and when it doesn't, I ignore them. All right? And I go with vibes, and I go with my gut. We'll go with games played, though. What about games played? How many games did Luka play as a rookie and start? And how many games has Wemby played?
Let's look at games. Luka played 70 games that year.
That's a lot of games.
So far this year, let's see, where am I going to find that quickly? 50.
And
so that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair criticism. But again, just the numbers. I mean, go back to just rookies of the year. So those are like the best guy.
Mm-hmm.
Would you take Wemby over Paolo? I would. Would you take Wemby over?
Okay, well, let me ask you this real quick.
Sure.
I don't know if it's that quick. I think so, but is Wemby going to have the Spurs in the postseason next year? Because Paolo's got the Magic are
maybe.
The Magic are there. They're 29 and 24. They're above the play-in line right now, and it's solely and there's some other things going on there, but Banchero has taken over this team.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Okay, let's just go back through a few. Would you take him over Scotty Barnes? I would.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
This is just rookies of the year, which I think is pretty. Would you take him over LaMelo? That's interesting.
Yeah, I would. I'd take Wemby over Luka. I wouldn't take him over Luka, though.
And then you said Ja. You would not.
Well, I love.
You love, and that's fair. That's this is asking you. And
I don't like Zion's not my, but like, in terms of impact rookie year, Zion had a much bigger impact than Wemby did. Zion was a must-watch TV. I don't know about the statistics, but here's what I know. The NBA isn't switching up stuff around for Wemby to get more eyeballs on him.
That's fair.
And they changed the rules of the bubble so that Zion could go into the bubble because they wanted them to make the postseason so bad.
All right, let me ask you this.
So bad. So I would say Zion, of the list, taking my own personal preference out, biggest impact since LeBron, it was Zion by a mile.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
fair.
Maybe that's ugly American. I don't know what worldwide Wemby's appeal is. But I don't feel like other than, hey, did you see what this big 7'4" guy did last night? Whereas it was Zion all the time.
Yeah.
His rookie year.
Did you all right, this will be
Did
a
he
good
make the
one.
All-Star team? Did Zion make the All-Star team?
Let's see. Okay, I'll tell you this because this will be a good one. Would you rather take rookie Wemby or yes, All-Star twice?
But did he make it his rookie year?
No.
Okay.
Yep, 2021.
So I was wrong on that one.
Yes, 2021 was his first All-Star bid.
Wemby will be a rookie. He'll be an All-Star next year.
Would you take him over rookie Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
Which was
I can't eliminate what I know about Ben Simmons. I can't. I cannot bifurcate the rookie Ben Simmons as opposed to Ben Simmons that I know right now. I am unable to bifurcate that.
Yeah, rookie Ben Simmons was I don't even want to say how great. I mean, all 82 games. That's
I know. It's nuts. What happened to that guy?
16 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds as a rookie. Now he was like Chet. He had the broken foot. He didn't play his first year.
Yeah.
So he also was like Chet.
But you said it didn't count.
It doesn't. So there you go.
Let's go back to this because this is a fascinating thing. They're going to make a documentary on this one day, and hopefully it's a real documentary and not one of these infomercials, right? What happened to Ben Simmons?
We will never know.
Can I tell you what I think it was? It was the moment. Not only the fans, but his teammates in Philadelphia started making a big deal about him not shooting threes. Do you remember that? You remember the whole thing was like, oh, he doesn't shoot threes, he doesn't shoot threes, he doesn't shoot threes. And then, like, he would hesitate. And then finally, like, one game, he shot a three, made it, and, like, the bench exploded like he was a Make-A-Wish kid that got in and made a lay-in. I think that's the biggest thing is, like, if they would have just left him alone with the threes and let him shoot mid-range and distribute and all that, but everybody made such a big deal of it, and I think it got into his head. That's my theory. Because I remember that. Like, dude, that guy's an all-star, and you guys are acting like the senior manager got a uniform on senior night and, made a lay-in because he made a three. And I think it got into his head, and that trickled down. And then I think money, selfishness, immaturity, a lot of other stuff. The culture of the NBA, which is you don't have to do what you don't want to do, especially if you are a young all-star, right? And then I think once the word got out that, like, this dude can't shoot. And boom. He went from all-star, rocket ship to fame, average NBA dude. Unbelievable. Average NBA dude.
Fascinating to look back.
And I think a good chunk of that is just the culture of the NBA, which I mostly like, but there's a dirty part of the NBA, which is like, yeah, you don't like what's going on, you don't have to play. You don't have to play on the team you're on. You don't have to play the night you're supposed to. If you're at all uncomfortable, don't worry. We'll take care of you. And I think that's a problem. Along with the fact that they made such a big deal of the fact that he couldn't shoot. Boom. All right, what's next?
Up next on Make or Miss, the fans just had to go and ruin the Phoenix Open.
All right, let's talk about this. I have been very lucky. I have attended a Waste Management Phoenix Open. It is what they call the People's Golf Tournament. And it is a fun, one-off, hey, these golfers know going in that it is going to be a loud environment. I've been to multiple golf tournaments. Golf tournaments are quiet for obvious reasons. And as a gallery, you sit there and everybody's quiet and you give it. That's why the term golf clap exists. For those that don't know, the Phoenix Open is the party tournament. And the reason it's the party tournament, because, well, one, they have embraced golf bros and the golf bro beer culture, which I'm a fan of. But also, the golf course out in Scottsdale is set up over so much land that there is nothing but places to be. it can accommodate a lot of people because there's so much. And then on top of that, they can build, like, Brenden, you've been to Scottsdale. Well, Phoenix Metro. You know what they
don't know if I've ever specifically been to Scottsdale, actually.
All right. Well, Phoenix Metro.
Yes, sure.
You know what they don't have there? Mountains and rivers. They've got the Salt River, which is man-made, and they've got Camelback, and that's about
Salt
it.
River. Is that really even a river?
They call it a river. Anyways, but most golf courses are kind of bound by the natural elements. Well, nothing but room out there at TPC Scottsdale. And the way that they built the golf course, there is so much room for spectators to watch. Well, on Thursday and Friday, the rains came. And when the rains came, and if you've ever been in a place where it doesn't rain a lot, and you hit that first rain, it's slippery as hell. And so they were like, the fans that normally could just hang out on the berms, well, those are now off. You can't stand on them because you're going to slip and fall. And on top of that, everybody's boozing it up and everything else. And also, you go to the Phoenix Open because it's sunny Scottsdale in the middle of February, right? Well, the rains came. It was a bit of a bummer. Well, then Saturday came along. And Saturday, the rains kind of went away. And finally, the people that were there were ready to party. But the golf course was still soaking wet because it's the desert. And people were slipping and falling. And on top of that, Saturday, everybody was ready to party. And apparently, I didn't know this. I learned this. At the Waste Management Open gates, at a certain point, they stopped checking tickets. And they just assumed that if you were there, you bought a ticket. And they let everybody in. Because if they actually, because there's like 500,000 people that go to this event. If they had to scan every ticket, nobody would get in time. Well, it turns out because of the rain, a lot of people that were there on Friday hung around on Saturday, and it got overcrowded. So, rain, too many people. Saturday, sun comes out, ready to booze. And on top of that, it's already an event that is there, that's known for a party. It got a bit out of hand. It got a bit out of hand. And it's like, it's a tough thing. Like, how do you have the party golf tournament and they get mad when the people show up ready to party?
Right.
Like, oh, hey, enjoy it. Have some fun. Have some booze. Not that much booze. Like, we've all been there.
Yeah,
we're college football people.
Right.
I mean, we've seen people act certain ways in certain stadiums even.
Yeah, it just
like where the bathrooms are full.
Yeah, it just seems to me that, this was something that unfortunately was just kind of ruined. Like, I've always heard from friends. I had a friend that went last year and just said, this is an experience. It's something unlike anything else in golf.
It really is unique. It's fun.
And I've always wanted to go to it. And then when you hear that, like, this is the first time that it's ever really been negative. Like usually it was like, okay, they heckle, but that's kind of like part of the experience.
Going in at the 16th, especially if you make bogey, you're going to get booed. And it's not even a mean boo. It's just like, boo.
Yeah,
like,
so I unfortunately, I'm going to throw out some generalization stereotypes. Justin, I imagine there are a lot of Arizona State University students who probably went to said event. And maybe we just got a little too tipsy because it sounded like there were some unruly fans. Did you hear about the lady that fell out of the stands and had to have medical attention?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, and I think...
Yeah, just got to maybe calm it down just a little bit.
And I don't know how you do that, but I think the biggest reason is the rain. Like, it's not a golf tournament set up for rain because it's in the desert.
It sounds like that's what you said. The rain ruined everything.
And, well, the rain literally dampened everybody's good time. And when the rain went away on Saturday, everybody went ballistic. It was like pent up Woodstock 99 stuff. And I'll be honest, social media doesn't help this at all either because there's going to be idiots at every golf tournament. And yeah, nobody should be running onto the golf course, jumping into the bunker and doing a sand angel in it. But I would imagine it was a little more isolated incidents, but the rain doesn't come. I don't think you hear about this, but
Yeah, so
I bet you they take 1 year and we're going to try to bring it to, and then it gets back.
yeah,
It's going to come back.
I hope so because it's something unique to itself. But Justin, the other thing that I saw on social media, like it just seems like everything was kind of haphazard with this trip because I saw somebody who was down at the airport leaving yesterday, and it was like, Walking Dead type of thing where it's just cars are scattered. People try to get on their plane, the last plane out or whatever it was. And I'm like, typically you don't hear about like anything negative with this tournament. It usually is, this is the best.
It's the people's tournament.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the one for the spectators where everything else is about the golfers, as it should be. Now they said that, who's this guy? So I think you'll see a complete operational change of how we manage really our Friday and Saturday, but the entire week. I think they're going to have to just go to like limiting the amount of people that can go. But it's still good. I don't know how you take it away. It's such a moneymaker for them. I think 1 year they're going to do like, I don't know, we've put in safety protocols, and then the next year, I should say, 1 year they're going to put it, and then after that it's going to get back. I don't know if it'll ever get back to this bad, but because it didn't sound good, but I don't know. I was there. It was fun. I also saw a lot of very drunk people. I don't know how you kind of balance that act, though. You know what I mean? Like, we're the party place. You come here, like, Dierks Bentley's playing Saturday night concert. Like, we're the party tournament. You guys don't party that much, though. And it's a lot of young. I shouldn't make broad stereotypes, but you already started it.
Yeah, I did.
But it's
a lot of young kids. I mean,
it's a lot of people that don't know how to hold their stuff.
I mean, could you in college?
It was amateur hour.
Could you in college? I mean, we all kind of had those moments where we didn't know how to hold our stuff in college.
It's very true. I didn't have enough discretionary income to go to Phoenix, though, and go to a golf tournament.
Goodness gracious, no. All right,
That's what I bet you. If you want, like,
sure.
If they get back in a closed-door meetings, this is how you fix this. You price them out. That's what they do in college football.
Yeah.
You ever notice, like, there are certain sections of stadiums that don't have problems?
Yes.
They're priced out.
That's fair.
They're priced out.
Yeah,
then there are certain sections that have problems. Nah.
Weren't GA tickets like $100? I actually have no idea, but I think they were like $100 for maybe a day. I don't exactly know what they were prior to this. Do you have
any... For the tournament?
Yeah. Do you have any recollection?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems about right.
Sure.
But so yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're just going to price them out.
We need to price out the college kids.
Or they're going to double. They're going to double, like a beer is going to be like
let's go ahead
$28.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just going to price them out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got time to do one more fun one to close it out, Justin. This would be fun to talk about. A stupid amount of money was put on the Super Bowl. Did you see the Nevada released their sports books, and I say plural because it was 182 sports books. They threw in like all their numbers, Justin. 185 million was bet in just in Nevada sports books.
Okay, just in Vegas.
Yes.
Nevada.
And of that 182, and this is the old saying, Vegas always wins. Justin, they managed a $7 million profit out of that. So
yeah,
Vegas still knows how to win.
Well, especially the Super Bowl, because people do what I do, which is bet on the Gatorade color. That's what we do. It's fun. Like, that's for entertainment purposes only. It's like, I bet on the Gatorade color. I would never, in a regular season game, bet on first touchdown. I did in this one. And George Kittle didn't score it, and I lost. But
he was quiet.
But it was, that's why it's the prop bet. We talk about the props all the time, and like, how long's the national anthem going to last? And will there be I would never bet on if there's going to be a doink off the goalpost. Now, I bet it. I didn't bet a lot. It was well within my means. It was for funsies. But that's how you make $7 million in profit. $7 million in profit? Free and clear?
Yep, $7 million in profit. And that's just Vegas. So I'd like to know, because Justin and I talked the week before, if I remember correctly, they said there were going to be likely over $1 billion that was moved just on sports.
I saw it's like $2 billion.
Okay, so it might have even been more than that.
Yeah, like FanDuel, DraftKings, like they had a good day.
So I'd like, and by the way, something we didn't talk about too, just to stick it in here, See, Gronk missed the extra point again.
Yeah, he's
need to work on that kicking, Gronk.
or they just got to stop that whole promo altogether. All right. Coming up, we have Get Off My Lawn. Devon Pouncey joins us in hour number 3. But before we get to all that, I want to tell you about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. How can you be experts in all those things? Well, DeBella is, and they are the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers, and something we're all thinking about in 2024. Maybe your diet fell off. Maybe you're back to drinking coffee, but you know what we can all do? Save money. That's right. We all want to save money this year, and you can do that by updating your roof with solar shingles. You could potentially pay for your roof with savings and federal or state incentives. Contact DeBella for details to have easy estimates, super convenient. It's free, and it's scheduled on a time that works for you. Now, I'm sure you've seen DeBella's excellent work in Better Homes and Gardens, Real Simple, or one of my favorite networks, which is HGTV, and they've got over 15,000 five-star reviews on Google for their excellent work. You could be the next five-star review. Plus, they have got accolades from search such as Angie's List and Home Advisor. Now's that perfect time because I tell you about this financing opportunity, and it's still there. 0 down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit. 0 down and no payments until 2025. Check out DeBella for a free, no-obligation appointment for roofing, windows, siding, bath projects. The official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers is DeBella. All right, as you know, it is a Tuesday, and as you know, Tuesday is the grumpiest day of the week. Yep, that's right. You hunker down for Monday, even the week after the Super Bowl. You prepare mentally, I would imagine. Prepare mentally for the Monday after the Super Bowl, and you hunker down. But then Tuesday is upon you, and if you were like us and you're a massive sports fan, and you're like, August is a long ways away before there's actual football to be played. Yes, I still count preseason NFL as actual football. And no, I do not count the UFL. Sorry, Rock. Rock's having himself a bit of a time now. He's on he's all over the internet. I'm not quite sure why, but it's a whole thing. Anyways, but that being said, it is a Tuesday. We are a smidge grumpy because football is going to be out of our lives in the game scenario. We're still going to be talking about the draft, and we're still going to be talking about spring football. And you think Trent Bray's going to have a spring game? Is he going to buck the trend maybe and actually play a spring game as opposed to Jonathan Smith, who's just like, we're just going to do a showcase that nobody's going to watch, so you don't really showcase anything?
It fit in line with his personality.
It really did. So, all that being said, we lean into the grumpiness on this particular program, and we lean in to some of the maybe technological things that frustrate us, or frustrate, I say us, me, and I embrace my old man grumpiness with the segment I like to call Get Off My Lawn. All right, streaming apps, get off my lawn from a volume standpoint. Oh, yeah, that's right, from a volume standpoint. I have got beef with you. Now, maybe this beef is unique to me. I stream my apps, which I have far too many that I pay for, but I can't help myself. I keep thinking maybe there's going to be an awesome show that's going to pop up that I've never heard of, and I don't want to miss the FOMO that I have, the TV FOMO that I have, and the amount of streaming apps that I pay for, along with cable in my life. It's a lot. That being said, I stream it onto a Chromecast. That is the way that I stream the stuff. Some people do it on Roku. Some people do it on Apple TV. Some people just do it with the apps on their phone. And here's what I have found out. Can these apps, now that they're all getting together and bundling and packaging it all together, can we all agree on a volume, people? Because, Brenden, I don't know if you have noticed this, but if I turn on my Netflix, I have to crank up the volume to a certain number. Then when I go from Netflix to Hulu, all of a sudden, its volume's through the roof, so I got to turn it down a little bit. And then, as I go from Hulu to Paramount Plus, and then sometimes the volume on my phone is too low. Sometimes the volume on my phone doesn't matter at all, and it's solely the volume on the TV. Sometimes it's a combination of both. Can we all just get together and have one consistent volume? Speaking of, these TVs are so smart, right? These TVs are so smart TVs is what they're called. If these TVs are so smart, can't we just figure out a universal volume that just it self-regulates? Can't we just I want to just sit there and if I can program so much stuff onto my TV and program so much stuff onto my phone and I can just talk into the phone and all, can't we just have can't I just set a volume on my TV so that whatever app I decide to open up, and whether it's YouTube or whether it's, because YouTube's super quiet, but also some videos on YouTube aren't as loud as the others. So can't we just get on this a little bit, engineers and scientists, so that the TV automatically goes to Myers household volume settings? This is where we would like it to be at. Jeopardy, which I watch every single night, on the DVR, comes in a little too quiet. Then I go to Discovery Plus to watch my HGTV shows, and they're screaming at me about shiplap. And then I go over to Paramount Plus, and I'm like, what do you think? What do you think we rewatch 1883? And then it's super quiet again. What are we doing? Can we regulate this?
Question,
Yeah.
because I don't, we have it, but isn't Discovery Plus and Max merged, or are they not
Yeah, but I still like it the way I did it
I'm
before.
like, I know we had both, but then I thought I can't say I've opened
I
Discovery
don't
Plus.
believe I'm getting charged more. I believe it's
Just two separate things.
because I had Discovery Plus
Then Max came online.
and had Max.
Yes.
And then I think I just pay for one.
Got you. Yeah, because I was like,
I think my login works for both.
yeah, because I'm with you. I think we need. I said volume. Yes.
It's absurd the difference in volume.
It is. It is. And I thought that it's funny because at one point, Justin, there was a law that did not allow commercials to be louder. Because it used to be there were commercials could be louder than your TV, and then they made it where commercials couldn't be louder than
the TV show you were watching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gone away.
Well, because the internet is the Wild Wild West.
Right.
And who's in charge? Nobody's in charge. And so they're just like, oh, let's. But how come then the others are like, it's super low volume? And like, okay. My TV sits at a volume of right about 30 is the number, right? Some maybe different on your TV, but my TV sits at 30. Jeopardy comes in, but I got to crank it up to about 38. Plus, I want to hear Ken Jennings read the questions because I'm playing along. Then I turn it on Discovery Plus. If I leave Jeopardy up too loud, now they're screaming at me. So much technology in the world. Yet, we can't get a universal volume. We can't get a regulating volume. Just, hey, this is the decibel level that our house would like it to be. Let's start there. Every new app coming in starts at that volume. Now, if I would like to crank it up a little bit because maybe someday I like to party, or maybe there's activity going on in the other room and I need to turn it up, I can manually do that still, but I just want a baseline decibel level. This is the appropriate volume for my TV. So, to the TV manufacturers, to the tech lords out there, and I know you're listening to me on my phone, this one's on you, and to the streaming services and everything else, get the volume straight, and until you do, get off my lawn. That feels good. Not going to lie, that feels good. Now, I'm going to go back to tonight, sit down on the couch, and go to watch a TV show, and volume's going to be all jacked up. All right, coming up in hour number 3, Devon Pouncey is going to be joining the show. We've got the RCM mailbag. We got some hoops to discuss. Blazers back in action tonight. Maybe take a look back at the Super Bowl as well. That's all coming up in hour number 3 here on 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Blazers return to action tonight. They'll be taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. West leading Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off at 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage at 4:30 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. 123 million people tuned in to watch the Super Bowl. It's the most-watched television event in history, up from 115 million in last year's broadcast. And the Pittsburgh Steelers made some roster moves, including cutting Mitch Trubisky. Sorry, Mitch. We hardly missed you. But we are not sorry to have Devon Pouncey, friend of the program, our basketball analyst, the analyst for the Rip City Remix, joining us live, in person, in studio, the entire third hour. And it starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome back to Rip City Mornings. Very happy to have back live in studio, friend of the program from your Rip City Remix television broadcast, also from your Portland State Vikings, from your Pacific Boxers. You see him all out and about as Pouncey, the
That's
DJ.
Right. That's right.
His name is Devon Pouncey, and he's a friend of the program. Brenden, I don't want to say you didn't make fun of me, but it was a reaction of the fact that I did not know certain DJs. So I'm already on like strike one. Because, all right, so you know my wife, Kelly. You guys are
Right.
friends.
For sure.
And Kelly has been obsessed with the Taylor Swift celebration with Travis Kelce after the end. So like she was showing me this video at the club of clearly everybody having a great time.
Yeah.
Enjoying Vegas as you would if you ever won the Super Bowl. Boy, what a town to win the Super Bowl in.
Did you not know who Marshmello was?
I did not know who Marshmello was. I am.
Thank you, Devon, my man.
Did you not? I see where this is headed.
You want to know my exact question was? I
Yeah.
said, Brenden, who is the guy with the marshmallow on his head?
Yeah, that's Marshmello.
And he said, that's Marshmallow.
It's a true story.
That's Marshmello. Yeah. Marshmello is like one of the biggest DJs
Found that out,
there,
yeah.
for sure.
Turns
Yeah.
out, huge deal.
Huge deal. Yeah, DJs all the festivals, probably has one too many residencies in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Marshmello's a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
which to be fair,
I knew there was a DJ with a marshmallow on his head. Did not know Marshmallow was his
That's
given
Marshmello.
stage name.
yeah, that's Marshmello for sure.
And then Brenden brought up another DJ, and I'm like, I don't know who that guy is. Who is it?
Calvin Harris.
Yeah, I did not know. Calvin.
Oh yeah, come on now.
I need some Devon.
Yeah,
Come on now,
Calvin beyond a DJ, Calvin Harris is. I guess you can say the same about Marshmello, but even more so, Calvin has produced so many hits. I love Calvin. I'm a big funk wave bounces guy. Volume 1 and 2.
All I know is he was the British dude that Taylor Swift wrote songs about.
Yeah. Calvin is one of those. Like he's one of the best producers in all of music.
Does he have anything I know?
I'm sure.
I'm sure. Like, I'm trying to
guys
think.
say that like
we
I know.
found love in a hopeless
Oh, that's a
yeah.
banger.
Yeah,
Calvin
let Devon
produced
sing,
that.
not me. Let Devon sing it up.
Calvin, a lot of pop
Okay.
hits. One kiss is all it takes.
Okay.
Falling in love. Man.
Boom.
Calvin's the real thing.
I need to.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Calvin's got
iPhone
some good
notes.
music.
I mean, I might, because I'm Team Taylor, so I don't know. I might.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got some questions about Team
More
Taylor.
on that coming up as we wrap up. So,
For sure.
let's talk some Super Bowl real quick, because we
Yeah.
got a lot of time to talk some hoops coming up in the second segment. But I mean, there's a lot of different layers to everything that happened on Sunday. But we have talked a ton, mostly with regard to basketball, all-time greatness, all-time. But Patrick Mahomes is now in that conversation.
For sure.
Not just, I think, with football, but I think like Tiger Woods was in the news, right? He's Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Right? He's now at that table,
For sure.
in my opinion.
I agree. And I think the thing about it is, we look at, and I would add LeBron James, I guess, to that
LeBron
conversation.
James, Steph Curry.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant. Let's not forget. But But I think the biggest key is, we look at the greatness conversation and you kind of like base it off of resume, longevity sometimes as well, obviously plays a role. But I think the biggest key in putting him in that conversation is, and obviously we don't know if this is like peak Patrick Mahomes, but to date it is.
Yeah.
And so like, how dominant are these players at their peak, more so than how long they've been playing at a high level or competing at a high level. And I think Patrick Mahomes has now put himself in a different stratosphere, if you will, because I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback at their peak self in their career. And again, the story's obviously still being written, but as of right now in Patrick Mahomes' career, I would say this is peak Patrick Mahomes. And I don't know if I've seen a quarterback dominate to the magnitude that he's dominating at the peak of their career right now. I mean, winning back-to-back Super Bowls is no small. It's like that's a quick 3 overall, but back-to-back is the equivalent to me of a three-peat in basketball because I think it's a little bit harder to do.
What's it been like 20? It was like 20 years ago?
20 years ago, exactly. So I think just the rarity of it, I think, is similar to the rarity of a three-peat in basketball.
There's a couple of things about Patrick Mahomes that, and we talked about it a lot yesterday. I've been mentioning it really since they won the AFC, which is there gets to a point and that the greats have in all sports, but mostly I think football and basketball, because baseball, unless you are a pitcher, right, there's other factors. But we have seen it where certain teams, the Warriors, is like, hey, just get us in.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out a way.
For sure.
The last championship the Warriors won, right? It's like, just get us in and we'll figure out a way. And Tom Brady was that way. It was like, just get me in. Oh, I'm down 3 scores. Don't worry. Time.
Yeah.
It's a math equation.
For sure.
To those guys. And Patrick Mahomes seems to be like that guy right now in the league where it's like, all right, do I need to throw for 300 yards? Okay. Do I need to burn some clock to win?
Yeah.
I can do that. And it's in his head. He's got the math equation figured out.
Yeah, I think I heard a stat that says like when behind seven or more points in the playoffs, he's like 9-2. And I think Brady was like 10-11 or something like that. And that's obviously no knock to Brady, but you just talk about that clutch gene and almost sort of that science that comes with a guy like Patrick Mahomes and being able to not only manage a game, but obviously know when to take over a game as well is something that everybody just can't do. And again, I think, as of right now, looking at where Patrick Mahomes is in his career, I don't know if he can get any better, but if he doesn't, at the level he's been playing at to this point in his career, there's not nearly anything that I've seen like it, especially after losing. And this is going back to bringing in all of the athletes, and this is one of the reasons why I'm a big Kobe guy. And I will put Kobe in that conversation because obviously a lot of people credit those first 3 championships that Kobe had to Shaq. And I think that can go both ways, of course, because they both were superstars and the greatest 1-2 punch ever, as Shaq would call it. But when Kobe lost Shaq and had to kind of regroup, and ultimately won 2 more championships and won more titles than Shaq, by the way, who everybody was giving the credit for Kobe winning those first 3. I think it kind of put those conversations to bed about Shaq being the reason Kobe had 5 because he was able to ultimately win more than Shaq. Mahomes is doing this with, like, losing a guy like Cheetah, like Tyreek Hill at receiver, a threat such as Tyreek Hill, and, like, guys that really just are not that great of receivers. Yeah, you still kind of have your security blanket in Travis Kelce, but Mahomes is showing that I am the reason that we are able to have the success and ultimately become this dynasty. And you can't really attach anybody else to that. You can call Travis Kelce a great support. He's a Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer to be. But Mahomes is doing this thing with, like, not the greatest roster surrounding him. And I think that's been very impressive to see that he has essentially made himself the centerpiece of this dynasty, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Devon Pouncey joining us live in studio. One more thing on Mahomes. While we're in this conversation, because I think he is put himself at the level of talking about all-time greats, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I think is the characteristic that gets missed a little bit. There's not really a comparison. That's one of the things that make you an all-time great. Sure, we can count rings. It's easy. It's a little lazy sometimes, but look, winners get sprinkles, okay?
For sure.
And winning matters, and it's one of the things that drives me nuts about college football, because sometimes winning doesn't even matter. It's like, well, they're a better team. It's like, well, they beat them. But winning still matters. So we can count championships. We can do stats. But it's when you ascend to a level where there's no comparing you to anyone. And I think, like, Steph Curry, right? Steph Curry was compared to a lot of people until it was like, no, there's no.
He changed the game.
There's no more. Even LeBron. Like, LeBron was compared to a lot of people, and they're like, no, there's nobody like that.
Yeah,
like, he's the longevity of Kareem, the body type of Magic,
right?
Like, there's nobody like
the
that.
Athleticism of Jordan.
Exactly. I mean, and I think Mahomes is now in that spot where it's like quarterbacks. It's probably the easiest position to compare and contrast.
Yes.
Because we kind of have all these quarterbacks in our head, and it's a singular position. I don't know who I'd compare him to anymore.
Yeah.
You used to be able to, like, well, what about this guy? Like, now it's like, no, he still has the legs, but he's not a running quarterback. He's still got the arm, but needs to check down when he's super smart, clutch. Like, he's one of one.
Yeah, I think he's I mean, for sure, when it comes to dual threat quarterbacks in particular, we've never seen a dual threat quarterback take over the league to this magnitude.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen obviously great quarterbacks that we know kind of traditionally fit what you would expect a great quarterback to be. I mean, you could talk Brady, Montana, you could talk, Manning, whoever it is that you want to say, but as far as like legitimate dual threat quarterbacks, not a quarterback that can use their legs every once in a while, but I'm talking about a quarterback to where when all else fails, like, my legs are good. And I think he showed that in this Super Bowl. I mean, he had nearly 70 yards rushing in that game as well, but like, when he decided to use his legs, there really wasn't much that could be done about it. He just doesn't have to depend on his legs the way that maybe some other quarterbacks do. But as far as being a dual threat quarterback, I think he has changed the game in terms of that being the standard for essentially what a quarterback should look like in the NFL. The same way you mentioned Steph Curry kind of changed the standard of, if you can't shoot a jump shot, you probably won't last in the NBA.
It's funny because you mentioned what a quarterback should look like, but like, this guy's one of the all-time greats. Funny voice, dad bod, weird, ill-fitting helmet.
He's not the sauciest dude in the world.
If you were redoing Varsity Blues, he would not be the guy you put at quarterback, right? It's just like, again, uniqueness and all that, but it's like, that's why sports in general. So sports is the best. Like, he's just upstairs, wired, competitive, on top of physical ability. Like, he's one of the best.
And I think it's safe to. I mean, I think it's interesting that you see guys that like him, and you talk about a Steph Curry, and I know his dad was a baseball player, but being a son of somebody who played professional sports, I think gives him a big advantage when it comes to that wiring, essentially, and just being ready and prepared for the moment in front of all these thousands of fans that are out here in this loud, rowdy stadium that you have to go out and over and over and over again prove that you're the best in front of, and he continues to do it.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk some hoops. Speaking of son of great athletes, I saw some ridiculous numbers being floated around about Bronny James potentially coming up next year. We might dive into that. Are the Warriors back? Is Wemby making a late surge for Rookie of the Year? We got a lot of hoops and Timberwolves are still good, and they're here in Portland tonight.
Yeah.
They're still good, and it's February. Got a lot of hoops to talk about with Devon Pouncey coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Devon Pouncey live in studio, hanging with us for the entire third hour. And kind of ripping this off of ESPN, and I saw it on Twitter, and it was talking about, is Patrick Mahomes the biggest box office athlete right now? And I thought it was a fascinating question because it doesn't mean the best, right? Because if we think about it from an NBA standpoint, I don't think Jokic, who I think is the best player in the league.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the biggest draw in the league.
No.
I think it's still LeBron. As crazy as it sounds.
Yeah.
For 20-some years, like LeBron James, there's probably some Kobe in there, there's some Shaq in there, but for the majority of his career, the biggest draw in terms of like, you look at the schedule, you get to pick a game. Hey, LeBron's in town.
For sure.
When not load managing. Or like, hey, games on TV. Who are you going to watch? LeBron's still the biggest draw.
Yeah.
Is he the biggest draw in all of sports, you think? Is he think he's a bigger draw than Mahomes?
I still think he's a bigger draw than Mahomes. I think Mahomes may be in terms of like right now today, and LeBron's obviously still great, but he's not like, again, at his peak, if you will. I think if you talk about performance-wise, Mahomes is more so at his peak right now today than LeBron is. So there's an element to that makes that question valid. But in terms of like LeBron's longevity, LeBron's ability to cross generations, LeBron's ability, and the fact that he is still playing at an all-star caliber level and like at a top 10 player in the NBA caliber level, I think still gives him the edge over Patrick Mahomes, although Patrick Mahomes right now today might be the player that you would be most intrigued by, like walking through the turnstiles and going to watch because he is at his peak. But I think when you combine all the things for LeBron, like I said, his longevity, the fact that he still plays at a high level, and the fact that, he crosses so many generations in that way, I would have to give it to LeBron.
Here's why you're right. All the things you just said.
Yeah.
And there are teams out there that apparently, according to some reports, are like quietly contemplating, do we draft Bronny James in the first round? You're laughing because you know where I'm going with this.
I know exactly where you're
LeBron
going.
is such a draw that some team would be willing to, and I don't say this to diminish Bronny James at all.
For sure.
I root for the kid.
Yeah.
He wants to play basketball. It's a bit of a tough spot because obviously your dad is your dad.
Yes.
But I root for him. I don't root against him. But he's not a first-round draft pick.
Right.
He is shooting 38% in the Pac-12 right now.
Right.
He's averaging, like, I think, 5 points a game in the Pac-12 right now. But there's going to be a team, New York Knicks, that may potentially say, look, LeBron's going to become an unrestricted free agent. We're going to go ahead and sign him.
Yeah.
And we're going to draft Bronny in the first round, and essentially wadding up and throwing away your first-round pick because let's say he becomes a solid starting caliber, and that's 4 or 5 years away.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
And you would do that for a 40-year-old.
Yeah, for 1 to 2 seasons because nobody draws eyeballs like LeBron.
Absolutely.
Still to this day, nobody draws eyeballs like that guy. And there's nobody. Is there anybody else in the league? I guess the Bucks still have a roster spot for Giannis's brother.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is a pretty big deal because
it is.
I give Giannis some credit for that.
I'm just trying to think, is there anybody else in the league? Giannis clearly is one because his brother's on the Bucks.
Right.
Is there anybody else in the league that a team would be willing to essentially throw away a draft pick or a roster spot to get somebody, especially a 40-year-old?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And like I said, he's definitely still the biggest draw for all of those reasons. And the fact that a team would even consider making a move like that just to be able to get LeBron, I think, speaks volumes. So and just the reality of it is like, Mahomes still wears a helmet out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like LeBron's marketability is still far greater than Mahomes because we get to see LeBron who he is through it all, on and off the court, where it's just, Mahomes isn't as visible until a post-game interview until, while he's playing, unless they pan the camera to him when he's on the sideline. But while he's out there actively making crazy plays, you halfway really don't know what the guy looks like unless you already know what the guy looks like. LeBron's face is exposed to new fans every day, every game, every minute.
I'm trying to think in the NFL, because Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. He's the best quarterback of his generation. Is he the biggest draw? I got one wild card I would throw out. And it's not exactly for all positive, but it's for simply drawing. Aaron Rodgers comes back and plays for the Jets next year. That's a box office draw. It's not for all the good reasons.
For sure.
There's going to be a lot of people that want to see him pop his Achilles again.
Yeah.
But I think that's a bigger draw.
Yeah, I think it was Odell, maybe close. Not anymore.
He had a moment.
He had a moment, but couldn't quite sustain it. But yeah, I don't think. I mean, Mahomes, he's a quarterback and arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. It's just hard to compare anybody when it comes to box office draw within that sport to Mahomes.
Let's go to our Rip City Mornings youth correspondent, and that is Brenden Slaughter. Brenden is an elder Gen Zer. Also, he has siblings who are of the younger generation. Is Mahomes like their guy? Like the kids? Who's the kids in the NFL or in the NBA? Because obviously I agree with what Pounce said. The fact that there's going to be a team willing to throw away a draft pick to get LeBron, but a big chunk of that is from the millennials that will watch.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if the kids still feel that way about LeBron. Who's the guy?
I mean, I would say Mahomes probably leads the category, but just like, for instance, in my house, my brother was rocking his Mahomes jersey, so he's 18 during the game, but then my cousin who came over, she was rocking a McCaffrey jersey, and I think a lot of the kids really like Christian McCaffrey. At least kind of those that are in my circle, kind of, West Coast, new McCaffrey at college. He's kind of a cool draw, and that was it. But, I don't really think there's anybody else unless I'm just totally with,
What about basketball-wise? Is it still LeBron? For the
Steph.
kids?
You got Steph.
For Steph in there? Is it still Steph, though?
I'm with Devon. Steph was not playing basketball in the NBA in 2003. So it's like LeBron just is kind of the closed and finished answer. But yeah, Steph Curry changed the game of basketball. If you ask one kid at Christmas, hey, Dad, I get to go to one game a year. Can we go see the Warriors when they play the Warriors? That's still kind of a thing. And, Devon, you probably remember this when, just growing up and whatnot. For me, I remember being out at the basketball court as a kid, and you'd throw up a crazy shot and you'd yell, Kobe.
Facts.
Now,
Dave Chappelle.
It's Curry.
Yeah.
So,
it is Curry.
It's not Braun as you shoot up a crazy shot. It's Steph from the logo.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it, too. And I think that's why we see shooting such a premium, throughout all levels. It's like fifth grade basketball. What are you telling him to do? Shoot threes. I mean, I think his impact, but for now, it's still Braun until he retires.
I think, not to get too serious about this conversation here, but there is another element to the conversation when it comes to youth in particular and football, and the fact that football is just a lot more risky these days, considered a lot more risky. We know a lot more. There's kind of elements of football that has a lot of parents more scared to kind of get their kids all the way involved and entrenched into the sport maybe than generations in the past did as well, which might in some cases make it a little bit harder for these athletes to be box office because football is being considered like a more of a dangerous sport, and it always has been. But again, as you kind of learn more and you kind of just have more to show for the fact that it is a dangerous sport, I think there's an element where there's sort of a detachment, more of a detachment than basketball, at least for sure, from the youth of today when it comes to football than it is to basketball, which again makes a difference in regards to being box office because the youth are a pull in that regard.
I will be the first to admit I don't know what the kids are doing. Right?
You guys spend more time with your nieces and nephews, Justin.
I try to, I'm just getting in on the lingo.
Lingo.
All right. I'm not going to say it because it might have ulterior meanings, so I'm not even going to throw out some of the slang words that I have heard. That's That's because I stand on business. Okay.
I got you.
Something
I stand on business, right? That's on God, okay?
Yes. Something I wanted to follow up with Devon real quick that he mentioned. Devon, what do you think about, like, because you mentioned, like, the football thing. I still find it completely fascinating that guys, I want to say maybe Tom Brady's been in this mix too, but I know for sure, like, Drew Brees has come out and said, my sons will not play football.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's, like, a piece of that pie, as you mentioned.
Yeah, you will never hear that from an NBA player that my son will not play basketball, for especially the greats. You just won't hear it because the risk isn't quite the same. Again, I just think it's become challenged more to have the youth play the sport of football, which, again, when you talk about, wanting to imitate players that are the best of this era or this generation, if there isn't as much participation at the youth levels, and that's not to say that there's no participation at all, but again, that participation is being challenged, if you will, then you don't have youth that want to be like Mahomes, or in the basketball sense, want to be like Mike, want to be like Steph, want to be like LeBron, Kobe, so on and so forth. You just don't get that as much anymore, I think, from the younger generations.
It is going to be interesting, though, and we're going to switch gears because I don't want to get too deep into the rabbit holes, and this is a fascinating conversation, but as long as there's NIL money in college football, there's going to be people playing football.
Yeah, I'm not saying the sport is
like dying.
As long as
there's some big fat cat, big money booster going like Texas A&M is good, like.
But again, that's an older generation that has to, like, have the influence on that. You know what I mean? They have to pay these young players and these families to try to change their lives for this to be able to happen. I'm just talking about the young generation naturally gravitating to the sport, but they have a few more barriers to naturally gravitate to the sport of football than they do in basketball. So when it comes to a box office conversation, I don't know.
Well, I just think, okay, so let's go back to basketball. Like, box office draw or biggest draw, I think clearly it's LeBron. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Clearly. I would say after LeBron, if you bring in the entire world, it's probably Giannis. I would imagine Giannis.
It's a global sport. Yeah.
It's a global sport. Jokic obviously brings some eyeballs, but I don't think anywhere close to what Giannis. Now, I might be a little bit skewed. I was in Greece 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, like, Giannis is taking over.
For sure.
Like, and so it being a global sport, and Wemby's might be on that path. But I think, again, if I try to keep a pulse of what, like, do you think more kids are going to tune in? And again, they don't tune in anymore. They watch YouTube videos or TikTok feeds.
Yeah.
But, like, I would say Luka is probably more popular than LeBron.
No.
To, like, 17 and under? Well, kids that can't get into an R-rated movie.
Well, again, you got to consider the fact that LeBron's got kids that are also wildly famous as well now, and so
that whole thing.
So there's a connection there. The LeBron James to Bronny James to Bryce James to, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a connection there where LeBron still has that reach to be able to touch the younger generation a bit more directly because his kids are of that generation and they're wildly famous.
God, I forgot about that. That's a good point. All those lines out the USC game.
Exactly.
How disappointed that you were going to be. It's like, he's going to score 5 points tonight, boys.
And maybe get a block. And, it's but those turnstiles will be turning.
All right. Real quick, Blazers in action tonight. They're taking on the Timberwolves. Timberwolves are fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because they are a team that we have talked about the Blazer blueprint, right?
Right.
And I think every Blazer fan is like, man, we could just be like the Thunder, best case scenario, secondary Rockets, right? The Rockets were bad since post Harden. Now they're back. They're somewhat competitive. They seem to be on the right path. It is interesting. Like, nobody's bringing up, like, the Timberwolves and the transition that they have made because it's not the typical. I don't believe they tanked for Anthony Edwards. I think they were just bad.
Yeah.
They had Karl Anthony Towns. There was, I feel like, a bit of a power struggle there. Jimmy Butler experiment did not work out.
Not at all.
And all of a sudden, finally, whatever the mixture that they've been trying to put together, like, they found the formula. They got their Dr. Pepper 23 flavors. They've got it kind of figured out, which is fascinating. You mentioned it a bunch of times with Anthony Edwards and the time he spent with Steve Kerr. in the offseason. But I think even more so, whether it happened organically, whether it just Anthony Edwards became the alpha and Karl Anthony Towns kind of gave up the fight, which made them better, which is kind of fascinating.
Well, because for what it's worth, I've never looked at Karl Anthony Towns as an alpha. I've always looked at him
but
as
he did.
Yeah, because he's so talented. You know what I mean? When you're as gifted and you know that I'm the most talented guy on this team and I should be the best player on this team, and there wasn't really anybody to challenge that. Even when you look at somebody like a Jimmy Butler is he's skilled, but he's a lot of will too. You know what I'm saying? Like Jimmy Butler is just the ultimate competitor that just is going to continue to come at you and at you and at you. And you have to either be able to withstand that or he might just beat you. And we've seen him make some deep playoff runs with the Heat that I think were just unexpected because he's just nonstop in attack mode. And sometimes that can be hard to overcome. But Anthony Edwards is a guy who's a number one overall pick. So when it comes to like that talent conversation, you look at Anthony Edwards in the same light as you would look at a Karl Anthony Towns, but just solely off of how high he was drafted. So what his expectations are based on him being the number one overall draft pick. And then you account the fact that I do think Anthony Edwards is actually an alpha. And those two things combined ultimately made it where over time, if they didn't break up because Anthony ultimately became the leader of this team, they got to a point where they finally figured it out. And it took them a little bit of time to do so, but they've clearly figured it out this season.
I mean, it's something that I think the Blazers are going to ultimately have to figure out. And like we've talked about multiple times, sometimes it happens organically. Sometimes the organization makes changes to force something. But at some point, like there has to be a hierarchy. Here's, again, What's fascinating about the Timberwolves this year, because I talk about it all the time, Pounce. I say uniforms are magic.
Yeah.
I put my own judgment on teams based upon previous performances. I am not used to the Timberwolves in those uniforms since Kevin Garnett left. Being worth a darn in this league. And now here they are, and it was like, oh, November, Timberwolves are good. That's a cute story. Hey, December, they're still hanging around. Good for those. All-Star games this weekend.
Yeah, it is.
They're still in first place. Yeah. I went back and looked. They do not have a 3-game losing streak at all this year.
Yeah.
They only have 2 back-to-back losses.
Right.
In the entire year.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Like, that is knowing how to win, because streaks are going to happen, but usually kind of those teams that you see have success in the postseason, because in the postseason, you have to be able to shake off a loss.
Yes, for sure.
And some teams just can't do that.
Yeah.
And the fact that I go and look at their schedule, they don't have a losing streak in there.
Yeah.
They've only got 2 back-to-back losses. And I think a lot of hot takes are going to be no playoff experience, right? Wait till they face off against the Clippers or the Lakers or the Nuggets. But I don't know. I'm starting to become a believer in this team.
Yeah, they're good, man. And I've been a believer in Anthony Edwards. Now, I am interested to see when, like, postseason time comes around because, obviously they'll be there, how they do when the game kind of just slows all the way down, because that's what tends to happen in the postseason. The game slows down a lot more, and you have to have guys that can really get it in the half court. And I think Anthony Edwards and, even Karl Anthony Towns are guys that have the talent to dominate in the half court, but I look at a young team like OKC. I don't know if those guys have the ability to consistently dominate in the half court, maybe like a SGA.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm interested to see when the game slows down, can they still be as effective over not only just, the length of a game, but the length of a series, if you will. And so I think that's kind of the next step for them. But they right now are rolling. They look really good, and they're in sync, and I think they've kind of been able to get through the turmoil and the tougher parts of figuring it out, and they're here now.
Good news is Blazers got them tonight and Thursday. It's going to be awesome, especially
back
injuries continue to run through this Blazer team. All right, I've got one more segment. Pounce is here, which means a special version of the RCM mailbag, a.k.a. Ebony and Ivory, makes its return next, 620 Rip City Radio. Is this Marshmallow? Or what?
This is not Marshmallow. This is.
Is this Dead Mouse? Is it Skrillex?
She don't.
Is this David Guetta?
No, I'm drawing a blank on who makes this. Can you help me out, Devon? I'm drawing a blank on it, actually, off the top of my head.
Feels David Guetta.
I know it's called Sandstorm.
I think. Anyways, I got a whole thing about David Guetta, which.
Do you really?
Well, I don't have a whole thing, but.
Darude.
No idea.
Yeah.
You heard of Darude?
Nah.
No, but Sandstorm.
Kind of a one hit.
It's a banger.
Kind of a one hit.
It's a banger. Let's just say David Guetta made an interesting tribute to in a certain time in our world where it was like, don't know if that was the right time and place for that particular tribute.
Okay.
We don't need to dive into that. Now the first thing I think of when I think of David Guetta. Anyways, Devon Pouncey is here. He is a friend of the program. He is joining us for the final segment. In the final segment, we do the RCM mailbag, but because Pounce is here and in our former life on our former show, we had a segment that we felt was important and we still feel is important, which is we get to ask each other questions that we are genuinely curious about with regard to our different cultures in our different communities. And this is coming from a place of love, not a place of hate.
For sure.
A place of curiosity, not a place of criticism. And so, special RCM mailbag version of Ebony and Ivory. Here we go. All right. I've been thinking about this since the Super Bowl. We talked about Usher last week. And I think talk about crossing cultural. Usher's the dude. Loved it. Loved everything about the Usher halftime show. Did not see the roller skates coming.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, do black people roller skate?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a big deal? Is that a thing?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to hear more about this.
Yeah.
Have you been when was the last time you went roller skating?
You know, roll bounce.
Yeah.
I
thought it might
that's
been like
Atlanta, of course.
Okay.
But I will say, at least for me, in where I grew up at, one of the problems that we had, and I can only speak for where I'm from, in the Bay Area, growing up, roller skating rinks were very, very popular.
Yeah.
They might have become a little bit too popular, and a lot of violence would ultimately happen there, and it shut a lot of the roller skate rinks down. So that was, and like I said, I can't speak for every black person. I know we are in the monolith, but yeah, the culture of roller skating was huge growing up.
Even still in the 90s and 2000s.
Absolutely.
Love it.
But like I said, at least the ones that I grew up around, all got shut down because too many fights, too much violence. But as far as the popularity of it, and enough people showing up there to where you knew there might be a fight or be some violence. Oh yeah, folks were outside at the roller skating rinks for sure.
Because growing up, for me, 80s, the roller rink was the spot.
Yeah.
Shout out Parkview Skating Center. And dude, if you had a birthday, if your buddy had a birthday at the roller skating rink,
yeah,
time of our life. But then after the 80s, they went away a little bit. And so rollerblading was a thing that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that,
yeah, I think it was more so at the rink. I don't think you would catch a bunch of us outside rollerblading, but you know what I'm saying?
Because you told me about the flip-flop thing.
For sure.
You're like,
no more flip-flops outside. Yeah, you can't run, can't jump, can't hop a fence, can't run from a dog, you're caught.
So
you're caught.
Roller skates only within the confines of a rink.
Like I said, I wouldn't say only within the confines of a rink, but yes, the roller skate rink was very, very popular. And but like I said, at least where I grew up at, most of the roller skate rinks got too popular and trouble would get started there. And then they had to shut them down. And obviously, if you don't have them as available to you, then it does become a little bit less popular, but definitely a huge deal in my childhood.
Dude, Usher could move on the roller skates.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Atlanta culture, though. You know what I mean? That was definitely him paying, homage to Atlanta, its culture. Like I said, roll bounce. We've seen the roll bounce movie. But yeah, I think Atlanta is big on roller skating for sure.
I saw, and I guess he does that in his residency does the
I
the
guess
roller skating.
I haven't been, but I
haven't
want to
been to
go.
Usher either.
But I want to go.
But like I thought, boy, Super Bowl halftime roller skates.
Yeah, that was fire.
Bold move because a lot can go wrong.
A lot can go wrong. Yeah, a lot can really go wrong. But
I was impressed how quickly he changed into them and changed out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, wait, you blanked? I mean, after he took off his shirt and he looked like he was in a river for how sweaty he was.
Yeah.
I was impressed how quickly I'm like, wait, how did he get changed into a full getup in like 15 seconds? Like, they must have had someone doing his upper half, someone doing his lower half, because it's almost like dressing up like a mannequin almost. You know what I mean?
When was the last time you roller skated, Brenden?
Oh, gosh. I was never the coordinated type.
You don't do wheels? Roller skates?
The big thing was
skateboards, nothing?
I said we did a little bit of rollerblading. Like, it was kind of like, something you would do at like a birthday party. Like, you go to Oaks Park and someone would be rollerblading or something like that. But for us, Justin, the big thing that started when I was in like elementary school was Heelys. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I remember the Heelys.
Yep.
Did you do the Heelys?
Yeah, I never did.
And you could be the cool kid, Justin. You're like, you're like walking through the halls, and all of a sudden you just start rolling.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, those were the coolest kids, man. And I could never balance myself on them, but it was, man, those were the coolest kids, I must say.
Shout out to all the Heelys. Shout out to Usher. The roller skating was the big deal. What do you got?
I guess I want to ask more. I want to know more about the hype around Taylor Swift. There was a big thing that went kind of viral on the internet with Shannon Sharp, his podcast Club Shay Shay, where there became these comparisons between like Beyonce and Taylor Swift. I will never go against Beyonce.
Understood.
Especially when it comes to Taylor
What do you feel about Texas
Swift.
Hold'em?
Well,
it's got to grow on you?
it's got to grow on me a little bit. But love Renaissance. But yeah, I just want to know more about how did Taylor Swift become this giant to where in anybody's culture she's even being compared to Beyonce.
Yeah.
Because I'm all Beyonce because that's all I've ever known since the 90s.
All right, I think I've got 90 seconds to break this down, and I'm going to attempt to do something to do that. All right, so here's what Taylor Swift, beyond undeniable talent and undeniable catchy songs.
Yeah.
Catchy songs.
For sure.
Everybody at the party was singing them. She has managed to tap into that special place in a certain segment, white women, in their feels.
Got it.
Of dealing with the breakup or dealing with somebody they may not be all that stoked about.
Okay.
And finally, someone is saying all the things that they've wanted to say. Dear John, I was too young.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
We're never getting back together.
Yeah.
I knew you were trouble when you walked in.
Yeah.
She's saying all the things that she wanted. And go to church. Cost $1,200 to get in the stadium. But that's what it is. Tap, I believe, that on top of catchy songs in a moment and 3 albums in a pandemic when you're stuck inside.
Yeah.
Maybe not all that stoked about who you're stuck inside with.
She's got an army of a demographic. The white
bullseye on the message.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. I'll take it.
And Shake It Off's a banger. I'll just say that
is
forever.
a banger.
It's a banger. All right. Devon Pouncey, you can watch him on Rip City Remix television broadcast.
Tonight, baby.
Tonight, Fox 12.
Yep.
Plus, Pounce will be on the call. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Thanks to super producer Brenden as well. Have a terrific Tuesday, 620 Rip City Radio.